All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Mainly Hoops podcast. If you're enjoying our content, please make sure to like and subscribe. We're covering Illinois and Alabama today at the United Center in Chicago. Illinois, a slight favorite here. Cody, we'll pass it over to you to dive into your initial thoughts.
Yeah, we got some injury stuff to monitor. The Ivisic twins. If I had to guess, I would say they're going to play, but I'm not 100% on that. It says Tomislav has a chance to play, and Big Z's been dealing with some knee swelling, I guess, but he played in their last game, I believe. I think he played like 16 minutes, but so they have some stuff to monitor there, and I think they're pretty important in this game. Dealing with the rim pressure that Labaron Philon puts on, and like Aden Holloway as creators, and I do think, those two are going to be very important in this defensive scheme. And that's kind of the main thing there. If they're completely healthy, I definitely like their chances a little bit more. But this is an Illinois team that, the offense has looked very good. I mean, obviously they've only had one real test, and that's been against Texas Tech, and they looked really good. Andrea Stojakovic kind of broke out in that game for Illinois. But yeah, I do think that's going to be the key. Is Alabama's front court has been the question really all year long, particularly at the center position with the duo of Aden Sherrill and Noah Williamson. And I think if Tomislav and Big Z are healthy, along with David Mirkovic, I think they can control the glass in this game. And I also think their defense in general sets up pretty well to take away the catch and shoot creation of guys like Aden Holloway and Reitzel. So it's going to be a lot on Labaron Philon, and he's going to have obviously a much better chance to do so if David Mirkovic is the only center in the game.
Marcus, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I mean, very similar thoughts. I do think this game is going to be quite fun. Should be a faster-paced game with probably a lot of points scored, right? Both teams are in the top 45 in the country in tempo. Obviously, every Alabama game seems to be high-scoring, high-paced. We saw that in their game against St. John's. So, I think it should be a lot of fun here at the United Center. I think both offenses in this game should be pretty comfortable. Both defenses, just don't really value turning the other team over. They value teams just, taking mid-range shots, in particular like Illinois. Their opponents are taking 42.7% of shots in the mid-range right now, which is, one of the higher numbers in the country. So, and on the Alabama side, that's not really a shot that they want to take, right? We emphasize all the time the Nate Oates way of it's rim or three. Philon gets away with it at times, but it's not really a shot that Alabama wants to take. So I think that'll be interesting to monitor. And then, like you said, the injuries. Illinois should have a significant advantage on the glass in this game if the Ivisic brothers can play. If not, or if one of them can play, they'll still have the advantage, but it'll be slightly less, I think. But they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys right now averaging over 5 rebounds a game. They're 11th in offensive rebound rate, 4th in defensive rebound rate. Like, they've really controlled the glass throughout the first 4 games of their season, and I would expect that to be the case again against Alabama.
Cody, what are the keys to the game for Alabama to come out of Illinois with a win?
Yeah, I think, first off, I think Labaron Philon kind of needs to be awesome in this game, and then Aden Holloway as that secondary creator, kind of exposing like maybe a weakness of this Illinois defense, which would be probably their point of attack defense. I know Kylan Boswell is awesome, and he's probably going to draw the Philon assignment, but outside of that, like, they don't have a ton of like elite one-on-one defenders. They don't have a ton of elite lateral movers, and I do think that's something that St. John's really struggled with against Alabama. They were just able to get to the paint and generate a catch and shoot three. Obviously, I would say Illinois across the board has more versatile defenders than St. John's does. Those guards they're just not great defenders in general, honestly. But yeah, so if they're able to expose them and generate more catch and shoot threes than Illinois typically allows, I think they're going to have a really good chance. And Keeping Illinois off the glass, I think, is another area. I mean, it's going to be very difficult too, because Illinois definitely has the size advantage in this game, but guys like Aden Sherrill and Noah Williamson and Bull Bowen, and then I know Nate Oates wants to play some of those freshmen a little bit more, some of those wings. Like, I mean, Amari Allen's been getting his time, but guys like London Jemison and even Davion Hannah on the wing, like they can bring a little bit more athleticism and physicality to the wings. So I know Oates has been talking about, he said he should have played Davion Hannah a little bit more in that Purdue game. So if he gets more time, I do think their defense and their physicality and rebounding can take maybe a step in the right direction. But obviously, it's going to be a super tall task. They're going to have to execute in the half court. Illinois does a pretty good job of transition denial as well. So, like I said, it's going to be a big day from Labaron Philon as a scorer, and if he can do it as a creator, creating shots for Wrightsville and Holloway and some of these other shooters on the roster.
And Marcus, what are Illinois' keys to the game to come out of here with a win?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of just the opposite, right? Can they create enough second chance opportunities, which, based on personnel, I definitely think that they can, especially if the Ivisic brothers play. If they both play, then they should probably dominate the glass in this game, with all the concerns we've had with Alabama's front court coming into the season, and then what we've seen so far. Alabama's 147th on the defensive glass in the country. So I think Illinois can have their way there. I think, if they can put some pressure on the rim, again, Alabama's front court just really lacking true rim protection, right? I mean, they've got Bull Bowen at 5%, Aden Sherrill at 6% block rate. But I just don't really trust any of those guys as like true high level rim protectors, especially in this game where, they're going to be outmatched, against Tomislav, especially. It's just a tough match for Alabama. So I think if Illinois can really take advantage of, putting pressure on the rim, second chance opportunities, and then I think just forcing Alabama to take shots that they don't want to take. Forcing them to live in the mid-range, forcing them to take – they're going to take a lot of contested tough shots, forcing them to take deep contested threes in this game is going to go a long way. And then just defend the rim without fouling. I think, you've got these guards on Alabama that want to put pressure on the rim. You have some rim protection. So just, doing that without fouling should go a long way for them. So, Illinois has a lot of things that could go their way in this matchup, I think.
All right, Illinois is the slight favorite. I believe it's -3.5. But Cody, who's your pick to come out of here with a win?
Yeah, I like Illinois here, especially at full strength. I think there are a lot of advantages for them. Like Marcus mentioned, I mean, keeping Alabama away from the free throw line is a pretty big key. I know NATO's teams typically get to the line at a high clip. They haven't really done so as much this season. And, I think their defense sets up pretty well. Like I mentioned, taking away the catch and shoot creation of Alabama and keeping them off the glass. And then just one thing to note about Alabama is they're typically really good on the offensive glass over the years, but right now they're 259th in offensive rebound rate on the season. And I know one of those games was against Purdue, and Purdue's one of the most elite defensive rebounding teams in the entire country with Oscar Clough and Trey Kaufman-Renn. But you kind of just look at this roster, and there's doesn't really look like there's a lot of elite offensive rebounders. Like, I think outside of Aden Sherrill, and I know he's only 7% on the year. He was 13% last year. But you look at that, and there's really not that many guys that I trust to get on the offensive glass consistently. So Alabama, over the course of the season, this is more of like a long-term outlook. Like, they may become very shot-making reliant. And I know NATO's teams can really knock it down from three, but it's just an instance where they've always had other avenues in the shot volume department as well. And I'm afraid they're going to turn into a little bit too shot-making efficiency reliant. So I'm a little worried about their outlook, but either way, I like Illinois in a fast-paced game. I think they're a very well-rounded team, a team that I've come around on over the course of the offseason and then throughout these first few games of the year. So I'll take them to win this game in Chicago, 97-89.
All right, Marcus, who do you got?
So as much as I've praised Illinois and everything kind of shapes up for an Illinois pick, I'm actually going to take Alabama to win this game in a tight one. It's more like, obviously nothing that we've talked about, nothing that I've mentioned really like points to like, oh yeah, there's definite proof that, you know, you can take Alabama here, but it's more of just a hunch pick that Alabama is going to make shots. You know, they rely heavily on shot making, as Cody just alluded to, as we've talked about throughout this breakdown. And I think it just feels like one of those days. It's like where Labaron Philon could just go off. You know, maybe the Ivisic twins are a little bit banged up, and so they aren't able to play like a full complement of minutes, and Alabama's able to get to them, you know, in a faster paced game. You know, we'll see what happens here. I think the Alabama guards can maybe get out and run a little bit more, especially if the Ivisic brothers are playing. You know, I think that they can really try and push the pace on them, while Illinois does like to play fast. I think the Alabama guards and some of those younger athletes on the wing can really push the pace, and potentially cause some problems. So I'm just going to side with Nate Oates' team to make a few more shots and win this one. We'll say 92-88.
All right, that does it for Alabama at Illinois. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time on the Mainly Hoops podcast.